Welcome, folks. I am Chris Gore from Film Threat. This is the Friday Film Threat Livecast. And we're live on a Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Hopefully you haven't received a disturbing email today. Lots to talk about. The editor-in-chief of FilmThreat.com, Alan Ng, will be joining me shortly. And hanging in the back is producer Glanuccio, who is a very ardent Exorcist supporter. We know that from a recent video that was posted on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. That's right. Yesterday was Godzilla Day. We'll get into it. Plus, I saw She Said, and we will discuss it. Also, Triangle of Sadness. It's been in theaters a couple weeks. We've got to talk about it. Next Exit, which is an indie sci-fi film directed by Molly Elfman, which is Danny Elfman's daughter. And she will be here today to talk about her film later on in the live cast. Also, there's so much going on. The director of 5/25/77, Patrick Reed Johnson, will also be here. It's a jam-packed show. So much to talk about. Alan will be joining me. Let's get things started. Let's get things going. The chat is on fire. I see the chat is on fire. The chat's on fire before we get here. That's very encouraging news, and happy that you're spending your Friday morning and or afternoon with us. Let's go. Alan, you're here. Alan, you are here. There's so much to talk about. I do have a complaint. Our producer Glanuccio, he's normally spot on with these thumbnails, but he missed a complete opportunity to have Godzilla on a thumbnail, me being crushed by Godzilla's foot, and you running away. That would have been the best. It would have been no. The thumbnail is great, by the way. It's awesome. The expression on your face is priceless. I love it.
I know. It's like you worked the guy enough, and now you want to do this elaborate Godzilla thing.
No, I do. Also, Glanuccio, in Glanuccio news, there is Glanuccio news. His short, The Hallway, we posted on the community tab. He released it, I think right after Halloween. You've got to check it out. It's a 1-minute short made by our producer. Please post in the description for this episode, and also in the chat. Got to post that link. To The Hallway. I thought, first of all, it sort of, for me, started as a comedy, and it goes places I did not expect. So check that out. Everyone, please subscribe to Glanuccio's channel and check it out. Now, also big news today. We had director Damien Leone on the podcast a few weeks ago on the live cast. I don't know, what do we call it, a live cast or a podcast?
Yeah, I call it the live stream, live cast.
The live stream. Well, I don't
know. I mean, what are podcasts anymore? It was for iPods back in the day.
Right, exactly. And people have even criticized, why do you call it a podcast? It's a live stream, it's a live cast, whatever. So Damien Leone was here a few weeks ago talking about his film Terrifier 2, which, by the way, is crossed the $8 million mark. a $250,000 crowd-funded horror film, follow-up to Terrifier, following the continuing adventures of Art the Clown. It's graphic, it's horrific, and I think that's part of the reason that the film is blown up, because it's one of those things. Every single person I've talked to, every friend of mine who has gone to see it in a theater has had experienced someone walking out or someone getting physically ill from watching the film. That's how intense this is.
Yeah. By the way, my local theater is still offering Terrifier 2 with at their dine-in theater. So you can get dinner, and while you're eating dinner, you can watch Terrifier 2.
I would not get dinner while watching Terrifier 2. In fact, I made the mistake of eating lunch while I was watching Terrifier 2. I don't regret it. I'm just saying that the movie is very and I feel like that's part of what's helping to sell the movie is that it's so intense, so like that people go, oh, it's almost like a dare to go see it.
Yeah,
like, I double, triple dog dare you to see Terrifier 2. And but here's,
I think the best part about all the success is that Damien gets to keep a lot of that money himself.
Well, he's working in conjunction with other studios.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is already, how could it have not made money? I do believe it is also out on VOD and Blu-ray. But real quick, this story popped up. Terrifier 2 has been submitted for Oscar consideration. And it says, the headline from Variety, will voters throw up too hilarious of an opportunity to...
Whoops. We just lost Chris. Yeah. And so here I get to go and stall for time. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, but that he does get to submit it to Oscars. I mean, are Oscar voters really forced to sit through it? I mean, do they have to see everything that's submitted and then make their votes?
Well, sorry, did I go away just for a second?
Yes, you did.
Something happened. It just literally cut off.
That's probably your internet.
It's probably my internet. I'm directly in here. So what? My Ethernet cable. I don't know. Hopefully it's working fine now. Better now. Anyway, so Terrifier 2 was submitted for Oscar consideration. Now, any movie that meets certain criteria, which is theatrical release, that's why a lot of movies open in New York and Los Angeles, mainly to get indie films do, to get critical consideration and reviews, right? And then once you meet a certain criteria, you pay a submission fee and you can be considered for Oscars, which means the Oscar voters will have access to screening copies of Terrifier 2. Additionally, my guess is they'll do an Oscar consideration screening. Now, looking at the landscape of movies this year, we were just talking last night after our meetup that it's a really weak field for Oscars this year. It's weak. Yeah. What is the big movie that's going to get 10 nominations?
I know. I mean, technically, the cutoff is January 1st. And looking down the pathway to the end of December, Avatar, Wakanda Forever, a bunch of small indie drama or small studio dramas. It's this Oscar broadcast does not bode well for ratings.
No, I think that Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which you and I are seeing next week, I believe that will receive multiple nominations. It's just going to.
Yeah.
And I'm not
because you've got to fill the categories. I think that's what we're trying to say.
You got to fill the categories. I mean, what, they nominate 10 movies, up to 10 movies for Best Picture now? Yeah, Terrifier 2,
like Car, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Wakanda Forever, Avatar. I think those are your big ones that they're just going to fill things in with.
Did you say Wakanda Forever?
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever. Okay. I love that Terrifier 2 is doing this. I love that the people behind it, and Damien, I'm sure, has something to do with this. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's like a troll. It's like, okay, Terrifier 2, let's go. So I love it. I think that's great. Congratulations to Damien. If you haven't seen the interview we did with Damien Leone, the director of Terrifier 2, please check it out on the Film Threat YouTube channel. Now, before we get into it, let's go to the chat and see who is here. We have Goober. Weird, was worth a watch. Not as crazy as UHF, but pretty solid. Craig Wilson.
How is this not in the theater? We keep talking about it. I was watching with my daughter again this morning on the television. It doesn't have quite the impact that it did when it was in the theater.
Of course, you're in a theater at a film festival. It's like the opening night movie.
Yeah.
Everybody's
crowded in a packed theater.
Packed theater, so every seat is full, including the bad seats on the far ends and the up front. I mean, those are the worst seats. And yeah, what can you say? Craig Wilson for 5 says, "Hail Film Threat. Did you do a review of All Quiet on the Western Front? I'm interested in everyone's takes on the changes from the source material. I have not seen it. It is something we will see. I'll see before the end of the year, because my guess is that's something that could be in awards consideration."
I think so too, yeah.
You going to see it, Alan?
I'm definitely planning on seeing it. I missed the screenings they offered, but it feels like a long one though.
It will be. CD Stein 69. Hail to all you beautiful drunks in the Film Threat chat. What's the over-under on Alan videos today, since Chris was a little more low-key with them on Wednesday? I don't know. What's the over-under on that?
Yeah. Gosh, I wonder what you're doing, Chris.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything.
It's like torture.
No, it's here. We'll do this.
Yeah. I'll just say the list is too long. That's why we're scrolling. It takes too long to scroll.
There's too many choices of videos. Amanda Nowicki, here for the movie reviews. Stay for the conversation. Love it. CD Stein 69 goes on to say, Chris looks like he's already had his morning coffee. I've had half of one, so I'm not pre-coffee yet. And I may have a second coffee. Want Biscuit says, isn't a review for Don't Fuck in the Woods one on Film Threat's website? I thought Alan mentioned that a couple weeks ago. I searched for it, couldn't find it. Didn't care for the movie. FWIW. What is that?
I have no.
For what?
Yeah. Let me look it up.
Solomon,
we are allowed to, for what it's worth.
For what it's worth. Okay, cool. I'm not hip with the lingo of the kids. TBH. All right. Solomon Thornton says, Chris, did you see Neurotic video about Black Panther 2? Yes, I did. I watch all of his.
Is he just talking about the release clips? Is that the deal?
Yeah, his video essays are really amazing. Really amazing. Kevin Apple. Hey guys, just checking in for Alan's bad takes.
Oh, yeah, I'll have plenty today.
Stick around. Foz, did Chris comb his hair? No, this is the way it kind of, I don't know. I'm not, I wash my hair every other day. I feel that's sufficient. Amanda Nowicki, Alan kicked Chris revenge. No, just my internet dropped for like a second. I don't know what happened. Brock Samsonite, we went to Alan's corner for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Very brief second.
Well, thanks for holding up the fort for 7 seconds, Alan. Everyone had 7 seconds in heaven with Alan. Amanda Nowicki, the Oscars have reached the bottom of the barrel. I didn't think that was possible. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be every year is like the worst ratings, and this year will be the absolute worst. Yeah. I really think it's because my theory is that people don't care about award shows as a format. I think the format is stale. I think they've failed to evolve the format. The uncomfortable 2 people standing next to each other telling a pre-written joke for them with fake banter is fake. I think that even the speeches are fake. I think this is why award shows have fallen out of favor with the general public. They would have been smarter to lean into Ricky Gervais, turn it into a free-for-all, turn it into something fun, turn it into a way for an opportunity for Hollywood to make fun of itself. Because Hollywood currently takes itself way, way too seriously. So, and Zavin says, watch Glanuccio's short. That was fun. Well, there you go. Love it. Subscribe to Glanuccio's channel. But let's get into it. I am, and this thing, if I am anything, I am a Godzilla fan and have been since I was a child, since I was a kid. Let me show you something I got. This is a Godzilla. It's a bootleg Lego Godzilla. I don't know if you can see that. but it's like a bootleg that I got at a convention. Just a little. Can you see that? You see that there? Little bootleg Godzilla. I love Godzilla. I have loved Godzilla since I was a kid. Yesterday, November 3rd, was Godzilla Day in celebration of November 3rd, 1954, when the first Godzilla film was released. I actually quit Cub Scouts. I was in the Cub Scouts for a spell. We did all sorts of activities. I was fine with Cub Scouts. Didn't hate it, whatever. But Godzilla Week on the 4:30 movie in Detroit, Michigan was occurring at the same time as Cub Scouts. I had to drop out of Cub Scouts to see Godzilla Week. Now, what was Godzilla Week? It was every day they would play a Godzilla movie at 4:30 in the afternoon. I never missed it. And I'm love the old school Godzilla, the Toho Godzilla movies are fantastic. The American ones are kind of mixed for me, you know. I when they redesigned Godzilla back in, what was it, like the late 90s, 2000, something like that. It was, or the Roland Emmerich Godzilla. I was not a huge fan of it. Not a huge fan. And then they killed off that version of Godzilla later in another Godzilla movie. There have been Godzilla cartoons. There have been many incarnations of Godzilla. And by that, I mean, not just design of the character, but tones for the movies. The first film, 1954 Godzilla, is a straight up, absolutely horror film. I mean, it's been talked about often in all sorts of essays that this was Japan's reaction to the horrors of Hiroshima and the atomic bomb. And Godzilla, the manifestation of Godzilla came from the atomic bomb, right? That it was in the story. That's how Godzilla was manifested and created. So I've been a Godzilla fan since I was a little kid. Collected Godzilla, made an Aurora model kit of Godzilla with glow-in-the-dark hands and head. I don't know why those are the only glow-in-the-dark parts, but whatever. I painted it so the teeth and the claws would glow. Is pretty cool. But I've always loved Godzilla. I haven't rushed out to see every Godzilla movie. They're hard to find sometimes, right? But I do have this Godzilla collection. This is standard def DVD, but what it has is a lot of the classic Godzilla movies that you have, not just the English dubbed versions, but the Japanese subtitled versions in English, and you find out how different the story is. The 1954 Godzilla, which many would argue it's in black and white, many would argue it's the best one. It's two different movies. There's the Japanese version, which is deadly serious, a sort of love triangle in the midst of the destruction of Japan by this terrible lizard, Godzilla, the king of the monsters. But when it was brought to the United States, the company that was distributing it in the United States thought, well, Americans aren't going to, we have to dub this, but not only this, Americans aren't going to want to watch a movie with just Japanese people in it. We need to add something to it. And they added Raymond Burr's character, who plays a journalist, and his name is?
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin. Steve Martin is reporting from Japan on, and I didn't realize it at the time. I never noticed, right? It's like, oh, that's Godzilla. Raymond Burr's in it. He has interactions with all the other characters. I didn't realize how bad it was till later. I became a little bit more sophisticated moviegoer as I got older, and I finally saw the original Japanese version, then watched the version with Raymond Burr, the US version of Godzilla, and you can see how badly it matches. It just doesn't match very well. The footage, it's just shot with, it's all in black and white, but it's clearly different cameras, different cinematographer. Raymond Burr's always on some sort of set, and he's always has some distance. When he interacts with the other Japanese characters, you can see that it's cut the best they could, but it's kind of cheesy, you know? It would be like putting me into Star Wars, you know? It would just be weird. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. But I have just loved Godzilla forever. I think, and what's interesting is that the Godzilla movies have different tones. The first Godzilla is very much a horror film. It's I would even argue it's something of an art film from that era.
Mm-hmm.
Then other Godzilla movies sort of vary in their level of seriousness. Then there are Godzilla movies for kids, Son of Godzilla with MECHA. Remember MECHA? Does anyone remember MECHA? Which was Godzilla's son. And it's sort of this fantasy where this little kid is it sort of befriends Godzilla, but it's all in his mind. So what I find interesting about Godzilla movies is you could look at them and you could say, okay, is this a comedy? Is this more of a comedy? Is this sort of a Godzilla movie for kid where Godzilla is like friend to children everywhere? Or is this a Godzilla movie like Shin Godzilla where it's an absolute terror? And Shin Godzilla I did see in the theater. It was I love it. I have both versions, the English dubbed and the subtitled version. What I like about the film is that it takes Godzilla seriously. It's like, it takes it seriously in how Japan would respond, and they would respond to Godzilla like a natural disaster. So you see a lot of boring meetings kind of taking place behind the scenes, but it's all like, here's the reaction to the monster. What do we say to the public? How do we actually do this? What would kind of planning would go into it? And I love that aspect. I have not seen Shin Ultraman as yet, but I definitely plan to see it. I feel like I'm doing like a DVD Tuesday here, like a throwback. But I have here this Godzilla set. If I can show you this. This is a Blu-ray set of a lot of the classic Toho Godzilla movies, and it's filled with it's filled with all sorts of artwork. And then I love it. Look at this artwork. It's insane. This is so cool. And it's got Blu-ray versions also with different versions of the Godzilla films. This is mostly the early Toho Godzilla stuff. So what can you say? Now, I had not seen, and I'm kind of surprised I hadn't seen, the Godzilla. It's a Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I believe that's the Japanese title here. Here we go. How about that for today? There we are. I think I got this at a convention. Anyways, so I may have seen it, but I saw the dubbed version. Fathom Events yesterday in celebration of Godzilla Day, November 3rd, screened the 2002 Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla, and that is the Japanese title. They showed a little preview at the beginning. They're making these short films. I strongly recommend subscribe to the Toho official YouTube channel. They make short films of like monsters fighting monsters. And they showed this kind of battle where Godzilla fights Hedorah, or the smog monster. They have this little battle in the city, and they show like the short, which is like 2 minutes. Then they show like a making of. They go into this warehouse. I wish they would have done just a video of the whole warehouse. They have storage of all the monsters they've used for all the past movies. They keep in storage. It's incredible. Obviously, they're in varying conditions. They've also got like props, like they could literally make a building set within minutes by just pulling out buildings and setting them up. It was great. So they showed this little like 10-minute behind the scenes. And then the president of Toho Pictures came out and introduced the film. This screening was packed, nearly full screening at a 7 p.m. They added an additional screening at 9 p.m. It was all Godzilla nerds. Yes, they exist. And it was fantastic. This version of Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla is much more serious than the original Mechagodzilla movies from the early 70s. So this was more of a serious take. It had layers of humor, but it focuses on, a group of characters that have to deal with Godzilla has come back. Godzilla's been gone since the 1950s. He has somehow returned. How do we defend against Godzilla? They find the bones of the original Godzilla that they killed in the 50s, and using it as sort of an armature, they build around the original bones of Godzilla a mechanized Godzilla with weapons, super weapons, and it can fly, it can do all this stuff, but it's taken very seriously. It's supported by these group of pilots. And this one woman, she was in a tragic accident. They have these sort of laser beam things, and she has an accident. Someone's inadvertently killed. They blame her. It's really not her fault. She blames herself. There's all this, like, all sorts of melodrama. I would describe this incarnation, the 2002 Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, as kind of a melodrama, right? Then you meet this scientist who has a young daughter, who, the daughter like lost her mother tragically, and she has this plant that's like her friend. The young daughter just hangs out, and it's just this really sweet melodrama. Alan, strongly recommend that you see this. And a lot of people.
Let me get this straight. You saw the 2002 version, not the original 1974 version.
That's correct. I saw the 2002 version.
I'm completely thinking you saw the original from 74.
No, the original from 74 is kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
This one, they take it way more seriously. Like, they show them building the robot, the science, like how they're using like Godzilla DNA to kind of run it. Like, they've got, like, it can be manually piloted. It's great. And there's like all these like great running threads. Here's the thing, how you judge a good Godzilla movie to me is, are you interested in the characters, the human stories of the characters? If the human story is interesting, it's a good Godzilla movie. If the human story is not interesting, that to me is like, well, then why do I care? Because the point is this: I want to be invested in the human characters. Godzilla is a force of nature. Godzilla is going to Godzilla. Okay. It's just the way it is. But if there's a human story that's like, one of my favorites is this one has been titled many different ways. It's Monster Zero, Godzilla versus the Astro Monster. It's basically Godzilla battling King Ghidorah, where they go to Planet X and they meet like these punk rock. They're dressed like Devo, the denizens of Planet X, who basically trick humans into like, hey, we just want to borrow your monsters to fight King Ghidorah. And then what they do is they mind control all the monsters to take over Earth. You got to see. I'll post a picture later of the but I love that movie because you really are invested in the human story behind it, and it's horrific. People die because of monsters in that movie, and it's horrifying. It's great too. They have these flying saucers, and there's an inventor who invents this like alarm sound, but the alarm sound is like deadly to the residents of Planet X. So it drives them crazy. So if there's a great human story in a Godzilla movie, I'm invested. If it's just Godzilla porn, I mean, I'll watch it, but it won't be a memorable Godzilla movie for me. But yeah, I did see the 2002 version.
Because I'm thinking the original. I'm going, I think we've seen two different movies, and we actually were thinking of two different movies.
Right. Well, this one, it's not as easy to see these Godzilla films these days. They're much. They don't get like a wide release.
Yeah, I mean, there are bootleg sites that have the original Godzillas on them. I assume they're in public domain or something like that.
Well, I'll buy box sets. I have in the past bought some bootlegs. But and recently, because of a friend, Chad, I have to thank you, Pageant of the Masters, got me the War of the Gargantuas on Blu-ray, which I'd been salivating over that for years. So I'm a huge fan of the early Toho from the 60s, the Inoshiro Honda ones, and also the soundtrack, the music. This is the thing that also people underestimate about why Godzilla is so important, so popular, is the music in these films is incredible. The music is absolutely incredible. The scores. This score was not as good, but when they use the classic Godzilla score, I love it. The American-made Godzilla movies, the MonsterVerse, the Warner Brothers, it's fun. Those movies are fine. I don't love them nearly as much as the original Godzilla films. The films produced in Japan by Japanese filmmakers, they're just better. I feel like there's something in the DNA about it. They have more to say. And the American-made ones is sort of a license deal. And it's too digital. It's too...
Well, and you got to throw stars in it. Yeah, I mean, you got to throw Matthew Broderick into it,
Right.
and it just kind of ruins. I mean, you kind of want just normal people now, instead of your Hollywood icons fighting Godzilla.
Right. So let's get to so all I can say is this: strongly recommend this. I hadn't seen it. I don't know. Look, I see when they come out and they're available, I see it. I'll buy it. I'll rent it. I'll whatever. But or I'll buy it like the 2-box sets that I have. But you know,
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
glad
that says
that I got
something
to
about
see it in the theater.
Fathom events. You know, I love Fathom events. I love these one-offs, but they are one-offs. You have one day to see it, and then that's it. And we can only talk about it afterwards.
Hey, my friend Kevin Rubio, HBO Max TCM has every Showa era Godzilla film, Criterion versions. Thank you for the hot tip, Kevin Rubio. Thank you. Oh my God, that's awesome. Lifelong Godzilla fan here. I don't give a metric ton of Gigan crap about the humans in a Godzilla movie. The less humans, the better, says Jared Manning. Totally respect that opinion. I get it. Why do people love Godzilla? I'm saying the ones that are better is I always love Godzilla in the movie, but if the human story is good, it makes the movie more rewatchable. If the human story isn't interesting, it's not as rewatchable to me. Again, my personal opinion, Jared, your opinion is also very valid. Daniel says Chris gets it. The human characters are extremely important, but Godzilla must also be heavily featured. Yeah, I don't like that when Godzilla, like, oh, are you going to wait like 30 minutes to have Godzilla hit the screen? We know Godzilla is coming. We've seen the earthquakes. We've seen we've seen the tail crop up, across the horizon. We know it's just show us Godzilla. That was the thing that always used to frustrate me as a kid. Like, the first 10 minutes of these movies are boring. Just show Godzilla. And yeah, so Daniel, I'm right there with you. Daniel goes on to say they could easily show old Godzilla movies in the theater on a normal basis. I don't know why they don't do that. Make it like Godzilla Tuesday. And every Tuesday they just show a Godzilla movie and just go through it chronological order. I would love that. Amanda and Wiki, all I can think of is the South Park episode with Barbara Streisand as Mechagodzilla. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Scary Stories NYC. I think Chris has used the word version 418 times the last half hour. Have I said that? Fair enough. Fair enough. Not see when I read something, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I've said that. I'll probably stop doing that. Like, maybe I showed too many Alan videos, so maybe I'll just pull back on that. And when I show them, I mean, half the time it's Alan pressing the button. You need to know that. Brock Samsonite says, not gonna lie, the Matthew Broderick movie has a corny place in my heart. That's fair enough. They're like, what I really love most about that movie was the marketing campaign. It was so great. The marketing campaign I thought was really good.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about not taking itself too seriously.
I just didn't like the design. I didn't like that they tried to sort of replicate a Star Wars.
He was a lizard. Yeah, he was a lizard. He wasn't Godzilla.
Yeah, it wasn't Godzilla to me. I didn't like it. He had like an underbite. I didn't like it.
Well, to me, it was the fact that he was on all fours throughout the entire film.
Yeah. Brock Samsonite also goes on to say the human characters are important because Godzilla always eventually decides to save and protect them, which makes Godzilla a hero, but he can't be a hero without someone to save. Mm-hmm. Bingo, Brock. Love that. Red Terror 1978 says Godzilla versus the Patriarchy, the Woman King. I would watch Godzilla versus the Woman King. Someone in the chat says humans in a Godzilla movie are like dialogue in a porno.
I was just thinking of that too. Yeah, because you in your porn, you need that backstory. You need at least 20 minutes of backstory before people really get into it.
Right. So yeah, I think you know what I think. Dialogue in a porno. No, dialogue in a porno can be good. Help! I'm caught in this in the dryer. This laundry machine. I can't get my. Why does that always happen? Brock Sampson at Godzilla, attorney at law. Jeff Burr was shot in the director's backyard. True story. Raymond Burr was. Oh my God, that doesn't surprise me. Oh, interesting. Want Biscuits. Tell us more about porn, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, if you set up sympathetic characters, give them kind of a plot, a motivation to be together, to want to be intimate. I think that. And then boom, all over the place.
Shelby AC, did you guys see the Criterion Godzilla collection they released a few years ago? The neon packaging and artwork is so cool. Yes, it's right here. I have it. Here it is.
I'm pretty sure he left the comment before you pulled that out.
Oh, really? It's so good. And there's like all these there's like a really cool essay about it's just awesome. This sits proudly on my shelf. So now I want to watch Godzilla today. After what happened to Chris Rock at last year's Oscars, I can only imagine what would happen with Art the Clown up for an award. They should just bring Art the Clown up there. They should turn it into a bit. Ranger Derek, huge Godzilla fan here. Knowing Chris is a fan too makes me like the guy even more. Well, Ranger Derek, I like you too. There's something, Godzilla movies are saying something, just like zombie movies, right? Zombie movies, I'm a huge fan of zombie movies. And the fact that both zombie movies and Godzilla movies have survived, 50 years, 50 plus years, and they're still making them. It says something about how the story kind of has wormed its way into the DNA of our psyche. There's something about it in our lizard brain, right? There's something about like fear or like with zombie movies, you're being chased. With Godzilla movies, you have to run away and seek safety. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, one of the things that I found appealing about Godzilla, I used to daydream in like 3rd and 4th grade, and I would draw Godzilla attacking my school because I just wanted school to get canceled. I just wanted like a snow day growing up in Michigan. I wanted Godzilla to come destroy my school so I didn't have to go to school every day. Although I did really like school, and I was the kind of kid that I would lay out my clothes the night before. I would go home and do my homework. I would
nerd.
I would read books. I would read books that I was not required to read. And I would watch monster movies all the time and make myself a banquet chicken pot pie, which was, and I still have no cooking skills. Thank you for that, Ranger Derek. Womp Biscuit says, I think Black Adam should be nominated. Then Johnson cracks a joke about JPS and see if Smith reacts to that. Ooh, I'll see that. Bad Andy wants porn reviews by Alan. All right. Yeah. And CD Stein 69 says 7 seconds in heaven with Alan. I'm feeling another video is possible in the works from Glenuccio. I'm thinking using the 13 going on 30 clip.
You're
not going to yes and that one.
Not going to yes and that one.
And Foz says, someone make Alan say boom chaka wow wow. Boom chaka wow wow. Need that as a ringtone. Alan?
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Yep. Yeah. No one puts Alan in a corner. But yeah, no, I loved it. Fathom events. On the regular, we'll see what's going on at Fathom events. This year I've seen Star Trek The Motion Picture. I'm seeing Dark Crystal, Godzilla. I don't know. I like the Fathom events. I saw Clerks 3. There you go. These specials.
I think you need to see one of their operas next.
Yeah.
Is Puccini coming out? Maybe you should see Puccini.
No, it's not. But there you go. Anyways, all right, switching gears here. We have other movies. A movie that you saw, Alan. Let's talk about it. The director is coming on the show later today. Molly Elfman will join us. This film, Next Exit, is an indie sci-fi movie directed by Molly Elfman, and it's about two people who seek to be a part of a medical experiment. The medical experiment will end your life, And by ending your life, you cross over into a spiritual realm. Now, this process was discovered by a scientist played by Karen Gillan in the movie, and you see like these news reports with her, and she discovered this when a young boy was seen playing a game with his father, like a board game with his father, but his father had passed away. There's no way that anyone would know how to play this game that they played together. She collects this evidence and she starts a medical procedure. This is not really what the movie is about per se. This is the sort of science fiction premise that kicks off the film, but it becomes about two people traveling to San Francisco together to undergo the procedure. Both of them want to end their lives. The two characters are Teddy and Rose, played by Rahul Kohli and Katie Parker. They both go to rent a car. They've rented the last car, and they realize they've got to go on the road together to get to this institute to go undergo this experimental procedure because they just want to end everything. Both characters have struggled with depression for a good amount of time and have just decided, well, if this can be for the good of science, I'm going to end my life. So it becomes an indie film, and this is kind of a genre of indie film we've seen before, a road movie where two people don't exactly get along, and they learn things about each other on the road, but with this hanging over their head that once they meet their destination, they will both end their lives. So, Alan, what I quite enjoyed this film. I love a good indie film, indie sci-fi that has a solid premise. I will say the ending really got me. I'm not going to say anything that happens in the third act to keep that on the down low. The movie is out today. And Alan, what did you think of Next Exit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be fair to say that the science fiction aspect of this movie bookends it.
Right.
I think the center of the movie, the main thrust of the story is a drama about two people who the take on it is basically two people who want to end their lives, but the stakes, but because of the technology, because of the idea that there is an afterlife and that death doesn't mean death, that it pulls a little bit of the wind out of the idea of death, of dying, and that is the point of this movie, is to explore why are two people wanting to end their lives. What is it about and I think it has a lot to do with what is it about their current lives that they're kind of running away from, not wanting to face or deal with, that makes dying and not really dying so attractive. And I thought that was the interesting spin. I think it took a while for me to kind of embrace the story, because I think I was expecting a lot more of the sci-fi aspect of it from the beginning of the film. But once you kind of get into it, once you kind of embrace the fact that it's really a drama, then it has a lot of really interesting things to say about life and about dying.
Yeah, it's really it definitely, I mean, once you set up the premise, you're right, it bookends the movie. Like there's this premise, they're traveling to San Francisco together to undergo this procedure, which will, they're basically going to end their lives. And so it's about like, how do you cope with those feelings of depression, where you've gotten to a place where you just don't want to exist. You don't want to be here. So I really love that aspect of it. And I also love the like you can just introduce a concept. You don't need a lot of special effects. You don't need a lot of big, spectacular, money spent on digital effects and whatnot. Just setting up the premise alone makes this, worth exploring. So
yeah, I mean, that part right there happens at the end, and I think it pays off in a really good way. But it's really not about that ending. It's really the payoff to what has been set up throughout the film.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to our comments here. So I recommend Next Exit. It is out on video on demand, I believe, today. And we can talk to Molly Elfman. I believe that the trailer is in the description of this video. So check out the trailer, and we'll be talking to Molly. I believe this is her directorial debut. So there you go. IR Abnormal says Hope and Crosby on the road to death. Basically, plane, trains, and euthanasia, says David Glenn. And a super chat here, Mohammed El Zankali for 5. First time super chat from one Godzilla nerd to another. Chris, which would you consider the best and worst Japanese Godzilla? Ooh. The best for me is sort of a tie between the original Godzilla 1954 and Monster Zero, or Godzilla versus the Astro Monster. That movie's has like many titles, but I love that in terms of the old school. In terms of the worst, I don't know. What was the one with Jet Jaguar and Gigan? I thought like those characters were just kind of ridiculous.
I mean, I feel like the quality of it kind of took a nosedive in the 70s. It felt like that they were just trying to, extend the franchise. And Godzilla started looking like a Precious Moments character.
Yeah, it was just
the
sort
big
of
gooey eyes.
Yeah, exactly. He looked too cute. So
Yeah.
when Godzilla got really cute, I'm trying to think I kind of like Son of Godzilla just for a couple reasons. I know that the design of Godzilla's son is just ridiculous. One of my favorites also is Destroy All Monsters. Not a Godzilla movie per se, but Destroy All Monsters I thought was amazing. The fact that the original score for that movie is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you were talking about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and I was thinking about the 70s version, that was the version of Godzilla that just really turned me off because he didn't have rough edges. He didn't have clean lines in his design. It was like his costume was made of foam and had these round, soft edges to him.
Lubitsch Touched Me says, I'll watch anything with Karen Gillan. Her feature directorial debut, The Party's Just Beginning, was excellent. Yeah, Karen Gillan's fantastic. Anonymous, yes, that is Danny Elfman's daughter is Molly Elfman. She'll be here today she'll be here in less than an hour. We're going to talk to her. And side question here, Corky's Chilling says, Chris, do you think Angela Bassett might be nominated for Wakanda Forever? If what I hear happens in the movie happens, yes, she will. It'll be supporting. So they're going to make a big play for Black Panther Wakanda Forever to get Oscar noms. Yeah. But this is sort of why I'm already kind of cringing at like seeing the movie, because it looks like it takes itself so seriously. It doesn't look fun. And then some clips leaked online, and to me, it looks pretty bad. I'm seeing the movie on Monday with Alan.
Yeah, I will be there.
We'll talk.
I will say the one clip I've seen of Wakanda Forever takes place where Angela Bassett's character basically eviscerates the UN and calls out its hypocrisy. It's a really good scene.
Yeah, and also she's a fantastic actress. So
now I've seen bits of the other ones, and it's like, oh, okay.
Well, there you go. Cool. Well, let's switch gears here, and let's talk about Triangle of Sadness, which is in theaters. It's actually been in theaters for quite some time now. And I'm trying to see what's a good picture here. There we go. All right. Got to get things set up here. So Triangle of Sadness is directed by Ruben Östlund. It stars Woody Harrelson as the captain of a yacht. Harris Dickinson is Carl. His girlfriend is played by Charlie Dean Creek. She plays Yaya. She's a model and an influencer. And this is a total evisceration of the super rich. It's about class warfare, class dynamics, and classism. Yes, it's about the working class versus the super rich. So Carl, it's so this opening scene with Carl, he's like a part-time male model. And you've seen it if you've seen the trailer for Triangle of Sadness. I mean, it is a comedy that has a lot to say. And in this opening scene, Carl, played by Harris Dickinson, he's this model where he's being directed by a casting director who's trying to give him two looks. And I think it's like Calvin Klein. He gives a very serious look. H&M. He's broadly smiling. Calvin Klein. Serious. Dark. H&M. And it's broad smiles, which is basically the difference between, sort of a low fashion brand, an H&M, and a much higher fashion brand that's not as accessible. And you see this played out. And then there's this incredible scene right after that where Carl goes out with his girlfriend. He's struggling. She's having huge success as an influencer and a model. They're at a very expensive dinner. The dinner's expensive when there's no prices on the menu and the portions are like minuscule, right? So you're paying like, $100 for nothing. I've been to a couple restaurants like that. I didn't eat much. Let's just say that. But then it turns into this debate about who's going to pay for the bill. And this entire debate, and it gets into, what current day expectations are for men, how women are equal, but they only want to be equal in certain ways so they can still have advantages. It is the best, most uncomfortable conversation that goes on for like 5-10 minutes that is spectacular, which completely gives you an idea of the tone of the film. She's an influencer, so she's been offered the opportunity to go on this yacht tour. She has to like post about it constantly on social media. So she's constantly like, there is no meal that she has that pictures aren't taken. They're poses. And of course, her boyfriend, Carl, is the photographer / assistant with all of this as they enjoy this free vacation on a yacht. Woody Harrelson is sort of the drunken, doesn't give a shit about anything yacht captain who has to deal with utterly moronic passengers, all super rich. They've all gotten rich through horrific means by selling weapons, by selling manure. It's interesting that the rich, they're all repulsive human beings, just the worst of humanity. They just happen to be rich, don't care about anything. They're just like horrific. Of course, the yacht turns into a storm where things are kind of equalized. In addition to the storm, they have to battle a bad case of food poisoning, which was inadvertently caused by one of the rich passengers. And if you don't like vomit, do not see this movie. There are a lot of people vomiting in this movie. I don't want to really go into detail about the third act, but let's just say in the third act, the tables have turned on the super rich and the lower class. This is a fantastic comedy that unfortunately is a little too long. Every movie these days is over 2 hours. If I see it's north of 2 hours, you better justify that running time. And it's about like 2:20, 2.5 hours.
2:27, yeah.
2:27, yeah. So like 2.5 hours. I still say, in spite of that, I would say absolutely see this movie. I love a good dark comedy that eviscerates the super rich. And the third act, you may have an issue with things that happen in the third act, but it's shocking. So there you go. I do recommend Triangle of Sadness. Alan, why didn't you see?
Why didn't I see it? Had a family thing, and then the only time available to me afterwards was 10:30, and then I saw it was 2.5 hours long. And I was like, "There's no way I'm doing this." So,
all right, well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, 2.5 hours. If it were an hour and a half, I probably would have considered it more seriously. But it sounds like you're saying it kind of earns the 2.5 hours, but doesn't.
It's almost like 3 different movies. There's the opening act with the sort of model couple, right? That's the opening act. The middle of the movie is everything on the boat, and then something happens in the third act.
Yeah,
and I don't want to get into it.
Does it feel like it drags it, throughout the film, or
it should have been tightened. I mean, I don't know that there's any place that drags. I think it's really funny, but this is a black comedy. It is very dark and very, you got to pay attention to what's happening. But How's Your Father says, the working class versus the woke class. It definitely rips into woke, just sort of woke nonsense, which I love that. Anonymous, rich people bad. Okay. Well, yeah, but it's not rich people bad. It's like these particular people, I think. And also, like, you know, they show this couple is kind of, they're in the middle, they're not super rich, but they're not poor either. The model couple, right? So they're kind of in the middle. They're the lens that we're viewing all these events, are these, you know, two models, a male model and a female supermodel,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they were thrust into the upper class, and now they're trying to hold on to it. That's what it sounds like.
Right. Well, it's like, well, she has way more money than him, so that sort of changes the dynamic between them a lot. So it's so they're kind of the ones we're seeing the story through. But it's not like that. Let's see. Max One Up says this was honestly one of the funnier movies I've seen in a while. Plenty of moments that had the entire theater laughing. Yeah, see, Max One Up is on Team Gore here. So thank you for that. Yeah, I actually want to see it again. I want to see it again too, because there's just like, I love the fact that, like, you know, the food poisoning is really caused by one of the rich people. One of the rich people on the boat is like, no, I want to, like, hang out with the people that work on the boat. They're told to just, whatever the rich people ask for, just give it to them. Whatever they want, just say yes with a smile. Just say yes no matter what. No matter what, say yes. And she wants them all to kind of play and have fun and like not work. And then what happens is some food is left in the kitchen, and it's not contained in a way that is supposed to be, and so it leads to everyone on the boat getting sick. Johnny Fuerte says, my only issue with Triangle of Sadness is the comedy fell flat in my theater. Most of the jokes didn't land, and the ones that did barely got laughs, but I really enjoyed it. Johnny, yeah, I'll be in the same way. It's like, depends sometimes on like the audience you see it with. Like, I saw Godzilla versus or against Mechagodzilla last night, packed theater, like everything got a laugh, or there were like many parts where people just applauded, mostly when Godzilla was like kicking ass. So there you go.
Patrick, were there laugh out loud moments, or was it just kind of funny
laugh out loud moments? Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, vomiting. You mentioned the vomiting.
The scene in the beginning with the couple debating, discussing who's going to pay the bill, and him kind of, you know, saying, you know, you have a lot more money than me. You said you would pay. Like, it's just like, it turns into this whole thing where it's like, oh my God, it was so uncomfortable. I loved it. Patrick Lemire says, was it made for streaming, cut together for feature? No, I don't know. It was a feature, right? Wasn't this at Cannes? Akanika says, about time for a dark comedy. I believe this had accolades from many festivals. I'm not sure if Cannes was one of them.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it here.
Want Biscuit says, agreed, Chris. My ideal running time is 145 to 2 hours. If you can't do it all in that time frame, save the extra and make a sequel. Or even better yet, put it on the DVD. Like, it just, look, I'm not opposed to movies being over 2 hours, but most movies I see these days that are over 2 hours don't need to be 2 hours. They really could have been cut down. And I actually think what it does is it elevates the events that happen in the movie to a higher degree. It elevates those events.
Yeah, I also don't think comedies work well at 2 hours, at past 90 minutes.
No,
because at that point you're laboring away to throw jokes in, and now you're putting the weak jokes that you threw away back into the movie.
Zach Tremmel, I love vomit. I'm sold. Thank you for being a member, Zach. I appreciate it. Amanda Nowicki. Oh, this is awesome. My husband and I do dinner at fancy places once in a blue moon. We end up eating McDonald's an hour later. I have done that. I've gone somewhere and they're serving like this, you know, it's just like super fancy, whatever. Like, look, because I'm part of the CCA, occasionally I get invited to events. They'll have a spread of food, and then I'll come back and I'll get Jack in the Box 2 tacos for $1.99.
Yeah, the first time I went, we got food beforehand. We got plates in front of us and never got served anything. And then we wound up going to McDonald's after the award was over. Yeah,
there you go. Mark Clement, I love Force Majeure. I really want to see Triangle. I recommend it. Class Warfare. Do the rich get cannibalized?
Yes.
I don't. No. I would say something better happens.
Okay.
Something better happens, and it's you know. I thought this movie. I do think seeing it with a crowd makes a lot of sense. So I may have missed the window on that then. Well, I saw it like when it first opened, but yeah. All right, Alan. I know you've got a rant.
Do I?
I know you've got a rant. It is time. Seriously, it's time for everyone looks forward to this. Here it is. It's time. Alan's Corner. Alan, what do you got for us today?
What do I have for you today? You're just throwing this at me right now. Gosh. You're asking me to think of something right on the spot and then rant about it. So thank you very much for putting me on the spot.
By the way, Alan does improv comedy.
I know.
At the National Comedy Theater, where he's thrust into positions where he has to do stuff. And so now I would just say
it's showtime.
Alan?
Oh, you son of a gun. Yeah, it's like the only thing coming to mind, I think. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, Chris, why the hell? What do you have to go to the bathroom? Is that the deal? Is your
no, I'm just like, I think that you know what? I probably should talk a little less on the show. I think everyone agrees I should talk a little less on the show. This is Alan's Corner. This is Alan's opportunity to talk about whatever he'd like to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like I've been saving a lot of this just for because I may be appearing on someone's podcast next week, and so a lot of the time I've just been thinking about how comedy is. We just talked about a comedy, but how comedy has basically been dying lately on the Vine here, and you know, and I think a lot of it is the fact that we don't like to be offended anymore. We're afraid to be offended. I wouldn't say we. Personally, I like being offended. I like people just pushing lines. But somehow the internet, Twitter, and the world just will have nothing to do with it. And they'll go on social media. They'll go on what was old Twitter and just kind of, you know, say you shouldn't be punching down. And I've always found that comedy was never about punching down. Comedy was all about the truth. About pointing out the true things that are beneath the surface that we don't accept as true, and then calling out and making it funny. And we're just afraid to do that. And I think we've talked about what would a woke comedy look like. And you know, I have ideas of what it might look like, but I can't imagine anyone wanting to invest in it or wanting to put any real time and energy into it. And so, you know, when we first started doing this, you know, I realized why are we not talking about the films that I truly love? And I realized the films that I truly love are the comedies, and they're just not making them anymore, or they're just not making them well anymore. You know, the comedy is way too safe, and won't push buttons. And so there you go. That's my corner. Right off the spot, right at the top of my head, with zero preparation. Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it.
What that I thought that was great. Comedy is dying, and
it is.
and you know, sometimes, you know, that's kind of a thing that happens. Comedy will die, like, you know, when you die in front of a crowd.
Oh, I've done that many times.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I used to do in my early days of improv. We had a spot at the Irvine Improv, and yeah, there were nights of like, you know, I just want to get off the stage right now. We are dying, we are stinking, and every effort you have to kind of salvage the moment falls even flatter.
Well, here we go. We have a lot of comments here. Marty is here for Marty A for 5. Seems movie budgets have increased, but it's not making better movies. Should we be seeing smaller budget, tighter stories? Yes, 100%. 100% smaller stories, something like Next Exit, even like Triangle of Sadness. Like, I mean, it's a bigger budget movie, but it's not filled with the kind of spectacle like a Black Adam or Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Zach
You
Trammell
hate,
says,
you hate to say it, but putting pressure on a filmmaker to make their movie makes the movie better versus giving them the world. And I feel like if you give them a budget that's too big, it makes them lazy. And I'm talking about the big studio films. And I don't think there's a lot of pressure anymore. You know, I think Taika Waititi and Thor: Love and Thunder, he didn't have that pressure to come in budget. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why it fell flat compared to a lot of his other work.
well, that's why I think that like indie filmmakers, you know, when you have, you know, guidelines, when you have restraints, when you don't have money, it forces you to be more creative when you don't have money.
Yeah, and efficient with your story.
Exactly. And it forces you to basically explore ideas and deeper layers because you don't have the spectacle to cover up the fact that you don't really have anything to say other than to collect a paycheck. And you see this happen with filmmakers. It's, you know, look, filmmakers can can cross over into doing indie films for the most part, and then doing a big budget Hollywood movie. That has happened with success. But I think it's much more difficult to go down that road. Zach Trammell,
well, you know, I'll just add to that. Films were 90 minutes. Why? Because they were shot on film and not on digital.
Right. Zach Trammell for 2 says, good memes. Here's my money. Well, thank Jim from Portland. Thank like the meme squad on our Discord. Our Discord has a whole, if you become a member at Film Threat, you'll get access to our Discord. And the memes lately have been on point. The Film Threat memes channel.
Yeah, we've been at some really good conversations on Discord as well.
Oh my God. Should I just show our Discord here?
Sure.
I'm gonna show the Discord. I'm gonna stop this, and just for a minute, we'll get back to your comments. I promise I'll get back to the comments.
Yeah. In fact, Discord should not be active right now because everyone should be on YouTube.
Yeah, you should all be chatting here.
Great.
But let me just share it for a second because I want to show people who are not members our Discord. And what I love about the Discord, check that out.
It's like I look like Stuttering John in that picture.
Oh my God. We have to pull that up every time you do like a Quantum Leap review. I love it. But yeah, there's a Film Threat like memes channel, which I think is amazing. So there we go.
I'm trying to figure this one out. It's like, what did they do?
No, but it's look, lots of discussion, TV talk, Film Threat episodes, movie memes, just memes from movies, people like having conversations. We're designing, when I say we, I mean, you know, look at this. Look at some of these. That's another. Is that another? Yeah, Jim from Portland creation. He is on fire lately. Look at this. It's fantastic. So I'm loving it. Oh, look at this. There's a little preview of things to come. Preview of things to come, folks. Here we go. So there we are. Anyways, all right. Yeah, become a member and you will get access to our Discord, and we appreciate all of our members. We also like to do a lot of giveaways with members, and then of course additional videos. Zavin says the death of free speech and civil discourse stifles the ability of comedians to push boundaries. 100%. And today we should probably check Twitter for a second. At 9 a.m. today, it appears as if Elon Musk will be laying off approximately almost 4,000 workers. About half of the staff of Twitter will be let go from their jobs as he attempts to right the ship, so to speak. And I mean right the ship in terms of adding some actual balance rather than favoring one political side of the aisle, which I think is wise. Ekanika says the Daily Wire might put money into it. Well, they've certainly been releasing some indie films, but I'm not sure if I agree with their approach. I think that the Daily Wire should be releasing these indie movies on all platforms, meaning it's part of their streaming service, but they should be available on Apple TV, on Vudu, on all other platforms.
Yeah. Well, the other question is, would Apple TV and the other platforms put on a Daily Wire film?
There you go. Want Biscuit says, true, Alan, all comedy must be rooted in some kind of truth. Heard that 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
CD Sign 69. I like to be offended. Cue Chris pushing the video button. And Alan is 100% correct. I'm going to be using it in a measured way. These days. Dude B says nobody is making Hot Shots Part 2 these days. I think that and a lot of people have said this. Gary from Nerdrotic said this. They need to make like a incredibly raunchy, offensive comedy that eviscerates woke culture and everything that's in the culture, and everyone's afraid to do it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people want to see it come from a big studio, and a big studio won't do it.
Albatrax 89. Are you going on Chrissy Mayer's podcast, Alan?
Yeah, it's currently scheduled in for Wednesday, but I don't think it's official yet.
Oh, Wednesday. What time?
Evening. I think it's like 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern.
Oh, I'll be in the chat. I'll be in the chat. Maybe I'll send Chrissy some videos.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So it's penciled in. It's on both our schedules. I don't think it's been officially announced yet. So.
Patrick Lemire, go to improv groups and see how much talk is about comedy you can't do. The racial makeup of teams, too white, and no one talks about how to be funny. It's fucking depressing.
Yeah,
Alan,
it's funny. We may actually be talking about this.
Can you expand on that, Alan? I don't want to tip your hand, but you and I have had a lot of discussions.
Yeah.
And there have been some issues with your improv group.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say issues with my improv group. That didn't happen to everyone else during the BLM riots or the George Floyd riots. But yeah. I don't want to get too far into the whole improv thing, but improv to me lately, especially the mainstream ones, they seem to be focusing inward, where improv shows tend to be group therapy sessions, and so now audiences have to come pay to see people go through their issues basically on stage and try to make something funny out of it. And I think I describe it as a cult. I think at one point Tina Fey described it as a cult as well. And I'll sum it up to this. Someone asked me the question, is improv for the performer or is it for the audience? And to me, that was just an insane question, and that had to be asked. The people who are paying for the show, that's who the improv show is for. And in 100% of the cases, it's the audience. And we've talked about this a lot in movies. If you don't care about the audience, you're going to have a bad show. It's going to be just dread to watch. And that's what's happening.
Was that a dog?
Yeah, it's my dog.
Are you ready for this, Alan? I really need you to be ready for this, Alan. Chris says you're ready.
Hey. Okay, this has really sparked a lot of conversation here. By the way, over 200 people watching right now. Please slap that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Oh, wow. Good question here. Dude B asks, what was the last really good comedy movie?
Well, I would say Weird. Go see Weird, the Al Yankovic,
Weird?
Al Yankovic story.
All right, so the last great really good comedy came out today.
Yeah.
Weird, according to Alan, which is now on the Roku channel for free. Doobie goes on to say, I saw the guy from Harold and Kumar apologize for making Harold and Kumar. I haven't seen
we're going to say them today, by the way.
It wouldn't surprise me. Unfortunately, you're seeing people apologize for that. I think it's nonsense. I think, look, I've said a lot of questionable things in the past. I don't care. I'm not, it happened. And so what? I mean, get over it is what I would say. Alan, did you ever do stand-up? Asks, how's your father?
I attempted and realized I'm not good at it. So,
Yeah.
A lot of it I think has to do with the preparation and the amount of time and energy it goes into writing a joke, and I like flying off the going off the fly, so to speak, in terms of comedy.
Right.
So yeah, kind of, but
Yeah,
no.
I attempted it and I was not great. Although I did do a thing, I did a show, and we would do this at comic conventions. I stopped doing it years ago, but I was in an improv comedy group called Comic Book Live, where we would get suggestions from the audience and we would like perform a live version of a comic book. I actually dressed as Namor the submariner. And I'm going to dig up those photos. I will dig up those photos of me as Namor.
Yeah, I've seen that show, or I should say,
Yeah,
I've seen half of the show and then I walked out.
there's videos online of me doing terrible. We did the Batman holiday special, and it was like Batman alone at the Batcave, and all the villains come to have a Christmas party. It was stupid, but I did play Batman. Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
Show. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. It's terrible. It's not good.
Yeah, I can tell you why it's terrible too.
Why?
Why? Because the intent of everyone on stage is to tell jokes and to be funny and say funny things, as opposed to develop a scene of some sort and kind of bring an audience into that scene and then make it funny from there.
Well, the thing is, we broke a rule with our group, because what we would do, we broke a rule by wearing costumes.
Because it limits you at that point.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'll just share the intro. It's stupid as hell. I'm going to do it right now. Okay. Is everybody ready for this? Wait, I'm going to
There's no music behind it
at the front. Okay. All right. Remember to mute yourself. I'm going to share screen. So here we go, folks. It's always good hanging out with everybody. I love it. Okay, hang on.
Suspense is killing us.
What? Here we go. I'm going to share. Here we go. Alan, you're going to have.
This is an ABC color presentation.
It's the Batman Holiday Special with Batman, Superman, Batman from Earth 2, Robin, and friends. Sponsored by Bat Deodorant. And yes, it does come in black. And now, to the Batcave.
I hope you're proud of yourself.
No, I'm not. That was terrible. That was terrible. Look, we broke about a lot of rules with this comedy group. What we would do is we would do videos. You know, we would like make a bunch of videos in our show. Then we would film our show. And kind of when you dress in costume, you've already decided what your character is, which you're not supposed to do in improv, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, we used to have costumes in our show, and the exact same thing. You put a costume on, and now you have to do the gags surrounding your costume, and so we got rid of them.
Okay, after playing that video, we lost half our audience. No, we didn't. Red Terror 1978 says, I am died. Len Barnett says, cheesy good. Daniel D, better production value than half the stuff coming out right now. Daniel D. Fur to the future. Fur to the future. Just watch that video with Gary and you say that Willow is going to suck hard. That's sad. We will talk more about Willow. I'll just say all I said was this, that everything you think it's going to be, it is. Everything you think, like everything about how like stuff is so woke, you can predict. I told Gary from Neurotic, you should just review it without having seen it to see how right you are. Because it starts with like two women having a fight with swords and they're practicing, and you can see there's some chemistry between them, but there's obligation, and one of the women has to go off and get married, but she doesn't really want to, and her friend is encouraging her that she doesn't have to do what she's told. And there's like they introduce this sort of like simpy male character that's like Val Kilmer's son and kind of looks like him, and it just like everything about it is like you just see it setting up like it's the anti-fairy tale. What I saw of it, I did not like, but I don't really care. And I don't want to watch a show where every episode I'm just telling you how bad it is. Right. Okay. And Andor, we would have reviewed Andor today, but from my understanding is the latest episode of Andor is another incredibly slow episode where nothing happens. You can't have an action scene every 3 episodes. Okay. It's ridiculous.
Although I've been hearing the last one was pretty good, and our friend Dante is actually into the series.
Yeah, well, there you go. Let's get through these comments here. So I did play Namor in one of the and I had a very elaborate and accurate Namor costume. This is maybe 6 years ago, 8 years. It's got to be 8 years ago.
Okay, so Speedo and ankle wings.
You know what? Should I try to find it? No, I'm not going to. You know what? I'll post it on social media next week, and I'll say this is my costume for going to see Wakanda Forever. See you at the AMC Burbank 16. Spaceman says, I'd kill for another Mel Brooks to come along and get us laughing at ourselves again. Spaceman, that's right. This is the problem, is people are unwilling to laugh at themselves. Having a sense of humor means you don't take yourself too seriously. You can laugh at yourself. Who can do that now? Alan?
Sorry,
Alan,
someone's at the door, and so I'm
someone's at the door?
Yeah, so I'm just checking. It's my pool guy. All right, never mind. I'm good.
Oh, Alan. First of all, I didn't know that Alan had a pool up until now.
I have a pool.
Alan has a pool.
I have one of the few remaining pools in California.
Well, whenever you have a barbecue, you can invite me over.
Yeah.
To hang out at the pool.
Yeah. You guys aren't that far, so.
Yeah. All right. Well,
next summer.
I'm going to see you. I'm actually going to see you tonight.
Yeah.
David Glenn says, no more green screens acting to a tennis ball. It does diminish. That's what I miss about practical effects, right? Is that if you're acting with like a creature or someone in makeup. There, when you see these people, did you see Tanya Maslany in all the gear to play She-Hulk? It looks terrible. Like, I know you've got to like suspend disbelief or whatever. She looks like an idiot. You're in this like black leotard covered in like balls. Your face has dots all over it. There's like a camera on your head and like a helmet.
And she's not as tall as She-Hulk in real life.
Right. But they literally had a pole with like She-Hulk's head on it as she was walking in the scene. It was stupid. But you're right, David. I hear you. Luther Talbert says, Chato says he is done with Disney. I'm the same way. I just don't care what they're doing. Luther, I agree with you. It's just, this is why Willow, I think, is just going to tank. I really think also that Star Wars in particular, I think has really just, has fans just like, look, this is just diminishing returns. We don't care. The story of Star Wars, when they said that the Star Wars was the Skywalker saga, and after that they'd be telling other stories, good luck. The reason you care about Star Wars is you care about the characters. You care about the characters, which is why the Star Wars sequel trilogy is the greatest missed opportunity in cinema history. And the people responsible for not reuniting Han, Luke, and Leia in one movie should have been fired. So
check that off your bingo card.
Shane Mackey says, Alan and the Pool Guy, new porno. Hey, Shane, how's it going, man? Love my buddy Shane from Atlanta. I hang out with Shane every Dragon Con. He always gifts me some alcohol I shouldn't have, but I'm happy to. Shane, I miss you, man. Miss you, man. Horror Punk says Tatiana was covered in balls.
Yeah, there you go.
Brock Sampson.
By the way, Horror Punk is an active member of our Discord, and welcome, Horror Punk.
Love it, Horror Punk. And also, Shucksy sent me a letter. Got a letter from Shucksy, an actual like card with a letter. In fact, I did get a recent bunch of envelopes. They're, where you can, if you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Thread, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, I'll send you a sticker. Los Angeles, California, 90036. I'll send you a sticker. I'll send you DVDs I got lying around. Shucksy sent me a note. Says, hey, Chris, I finally figured out how this priority mail works. The envelope with the return address can hold 6 DVDs max. Maybe I'll send you 6 DVDs. So that's more than enough. I don't exactly expect you to send that much anyway. Thanks for reading my letters. I love what you do at Film Threat. I got to buy some merch, but I got to get some money first. Tell me about it. Give my best to Alan's nipples and the rest of the Film Threat crew. Much love, Shucksy. An actual handwritten letter. They don't do that anymore. Thank you, Shucksy, for that. That's great. That, you know what? You earned this. Brock Samsonite, I'm probably going to force myself to sit through it just for Warwick Davis. I own that much. I love Warwick Davis. I've seen him at speaking events. I loved his show on HBO.
So let me ask you this: I've only seen the trailer to Willow, and I was not impressed with Warwick's voiceover and his acting in the trailer. And I'm wondering if you can confirm that, or maybe they're just pulling bad clips of him.
I couldn't finish the first episode. It was just everything. Like, I already know the videos that are going to come out. Like, not
All
great.
right.
We have Molly Elfman joining us in about 10 minutes. So get your questions ready for Molly. Cavatino, Cavalryman, Shay, Chris and Alan. Have you watched A Christmas Story Christmas trailer? Tom showed it on Mead yesterday. Midnight's Edge After Dark. Shout out to Tom and the team at Mead and me at Midnight's Edge in the morning. Is that how you say that? Yeah, I saw the trailer. I actually worked with Peter Billingsley on 2 television shows. I worked with him when I first started doing television in the late 90s on a show for FX called The X Show. Peter Billingsley was a producer there. He's also producing partners and works with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. He is awesome. He is incredibly hardworking. And I'll say that doesn't shy away from the fact that he is known mostly as Ralphie, from A Christmas Story. I mean, he had a career as a child actor and then became a film producer working in the industry. And you bring it up and he'll tell you stories. Super nice guy. Worked with him on another show that I actually think never aired. What was that for? It was for the Blaze Network. It was like Shark Tank, but for documentary filmmakers. And I'm not sure that it ever actually aired.
For
Or maybe
Blaze?
they cut me out. Huh?
For Blaze?
For Blaze. This is like back in 2013. Yeah.
And we're talking about the same Blaze TV, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Enough said.
So I was like the Ryan Seacrest of the show. This is true. It's not on my IMDb, but I did see the trailer. What do you do? I'll watch it because I love that movie. I'll watch it. And it's interesting. He looks pretty much the same. He looks like an older version of the cute Ralphie, right? But his buddies do not.
Is everyone back? Is everyone from the original
Not
back?
everyone, but yeah. You know what? I'm gonna watch it. What did I think of it? Did they need to make it? No. Was it inevitable? It was inevitable. It was inevitable. Is Phoebe Cates? Thank you for that question. Patrick Lemire, is Phoebe Cates coming out of Alan's pool?
Don't ruin this for me. Okay, thank you.
All right. See, you're waiting for it to happen. Doesn't always happen. Patrick Lemire. Chapek is such a weak sister. The only hope is WB kicks so much ass Disney has its come to Jesus moment. I don't know. Like, this is what what's the guy Zaslav at Warner Brothers is like. Look, shows have to make money. They have to perform. They got to get numbers. And if they're not, we're canceling it.
Yeah, Disney's too big to fail at the moment. And then let's go back to when the end of the Eisner era. Eisner was running Disney into the ground. And who saved Disney at that point? Roy Disney. He got kicked off of the board. He made a play and was able to get Eisner thrown out and Iger put in, and fundamentally changed Disney at that point. We could argue whether it was for the better or not. But there has to come a point where someone has to come in and save it. And unfortunately, none of the Disneys are around to do it anymore.
Wait, a quick question here. Shelby AC says, wait, is Billingsley based? I must know now. Yes, he's very based.
Are you gonna out
I will
him?
say this. There are more people in Hollywood based than you would think. They just don't talk about it.
Yeah, they want to keep their jobs, basically.
They want to keep their jobs and show fealty to the socially accepted ideology. Does that make sense? Yeah, I would say Billingsley's based. I would say that a lot of the people that work with Billingsley are based. Throwing that out there. Throwing that out there. Brock Sampson, Disney is about to double down again. They're giving their employees Disney Plus for free to claim them as viewership numbers. Are you kidding me? Wow. Anonymous says Willow probably appears for 5 minutes. No, I actually think Willow's in it for more than
it looked
that.
like he's a big part of the show.
Yeah. Comedy seems to be slowly being eliminated by death from 1,000 cuts. The mob has been calling offended little by little. That's made mainstream comedy almost unbearable. Mainstream comedy, I'll tell you what the best barometer is SNL. I used to love SNL. As a kid, like I would stay up on Saturday nights talking about, single digit age, 11, 12, 13 years old. I would watch Flash Gordon serials, monster movies, and Saturday Night Live came on at 11:30. And I remember, like, as a kid, it was hard to stay up past a certain hour. So I remember what I would do is I would splash my face with water. I would do everything I could to stay awake, right? Literally splash water on my face, like, stay awake, stay awake. I got to watch SNL. And so I have religiously watched that show since the 1970s. And it's always at its periods. People complain, oh, the new cast isn't funny. Oh, I love the new Will Ferrell or whoever. You know what I mean? They introduce a new cast of people you're not familiar with. It's a little slow going in the beginning, and then you end up loving them even more than the cast that was before. It's always whenever there's a big changeover in cast. SNL has not been funny since 2017. 2017 was the last time that SNL actually made fun of something woke. With Ryan Gosling, look it up. We can't play it because we'll get copyright strike. But Ryan Gosling starred in a fake commercial for woke jeans, and it completely ripped into woke culture. If they had stayed on that path, people would be watching SNL. Because it just completely makes fun of one political side. Huge mistake. They should be making fun of everybody. Now I will catch clips every once in a while, and I'll watch Weekend Update, which is not funny, but I've noticed what they've done is they actually now are starting to make fun of kind of both things. And they had on the past weekend Drunk Uncle, the sketch Drunk Uncle. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I saw that one.
I love the whole idea of Drunk Uncle. So There you go. Let's get through a couple more chat questions here. We have Molly will be joining us momentarily. We're excited to talk to her. Patrick Lemire says, just look at Bros. If that movie had been made for $2 million, it would have been a success. Instead, they somehow spent $23 million plus about the same in marketing to set themselves up for an epic fail. Well, I saw that movie. I'm like, that would be a very successful independent film. Bros would be huge success if it were independent or if it were streaming, but it's not a mainstream movie. It's just unfortunately not. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Bros, but from what I've been hearing from people, it's, you know, it's taking comedy in the direction that's been going in a long time, where it presents funny ideas but never pays it off with any kind of punchline or any kind of laugh. It just calls out what weird thing, you know, you observe about life, and then but never pays it off in any way. And also you know, who's the audience? I think that's probably its biggest problem, is who's its audience. Is it the LGBT community? Is it the broader community? And I don't think it knew who its audience was. And I think that's why it failed in such a spectacular way. Because you would think the LGBT community would come out and support this movie, and they didn't.
Right. JTP RX is a member. Thank you for that. Jordan Peterson once said, in order to think, you must risk being offensive. Most of the woke don't want to think and just shut down thought and conversation. Unfortunately, yes. Like I like listening to ideas that conflict with my own. I like a raucous debate.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Why do you think Alan is still on the show?
How does that work?
No, I don't want. And also, if you look at Film Threat's writers, and you know what, go to filmthreat.com. Definitely visit film. I mean, you should at least be going there every couple days a week. Molly's in our digital green room. She's going to be joining us anytime now. But real quick, I just want to show you by example, like we review all types of movies. Okay. We have all types of writers from many sides of the political spectrum. What is that movie? All jacked up and
full horror. That's definitely a horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
That looks like, what is it? Korean horror film? I love Korean horror.
So. Yeah.
Ivalu. Lots of different writers, all different. Oh, Weird. Here we go. Yeah. Weird is on the front of Film Threat right now. That's awesome. Dead Kansas is out.
Another horror film.
The Lone Wolf, Olobo Solitari. There you go. Short film. We review short films as well. So look, all I'm saying is, to me, I think true diversity comes with diversity of ideas and all types of writers, all types of perspectives. You know, we'll cover, hey, your latest, greatest indie sci-fi, indie, you know, earnest indie film, along with animation, horror, short films. It really does cross the spectrum, in addition to our writers that have their own points of view. Brahmastra. There you go. Yeah. We have a writer from India that writes reviews of Indian movies, and you know, everything down to Evil Head Dead by Dong. That's a real short film, by the way, that actually exists. Oh my God. I can't believe we're going to bring on Molly right after that. Oh man. But we talked about Molly Elfman's film Next Exit earlier in the show. I'm ecstatic to have her on here. I haven't talked to Molly in years. Great to see you, Molly. How you doing?
Hi, it's so good to see you too. It's been a long ass time.
It's been a long time. I know you were, for a period of time, you were a film journalist, covering movies and doing junkets and whatnot. And so ecstatic to see you cross over into the director's chair. Not surprised, honestly, not surprised.
Yeah.
But tell us, Alan and I both saw your film. We talked about it earlier in the show. Tell us what led to this, because I feel, one, I love indie sci-fi, because I love that indie sci-fi, while you don't have like a Marvel-sized budget, you have the opportunity to have the screen time to be able to explore ideas. And this one hits really close to home, especially over the last 2 years. Mental health is at, I think, crisis levels in the United States.
Yes.
Seriously crisis levels, especially among certain demographics. So tell us what led to you wanting to explore this topic.
Yeah, I don't think we had even the Marvel coffee-sized budget for our entire budget. I think I think they probably spend more on creamer than we did on our entire film. No, for me, this was always a project that when things were going wrong, when I couldn't figure it out, when the world made absolutely no sense, I would go back to this film. And it was kind of my way of exploring those things of, if everything changes and there is no logic, how do you find that? And ultimately, there's a sci-fi premise, there's supernatural, but it's always about the humanity and the core of these two characters, because that's what I was going through, and that's what I kind of needed to figure a way out myself. And so that's kind of how this all started. And yeah, you're absolutely right, got picked up again at the top of COVID because it was just so incredibly relevant and timely, and the conceit just worked incredibly well. It's not a COVID film in the slightest, but I think it does speak to the experience that a lot of us were going through.
Well, I'll say, just, we all experienced the last couple of years, and it's not, were you depressed? It's what level of depression did you experience? Because I know I experienced it just watching the ticker of, worldwide deaths by country was horrific. Not being able to see friends and family, not being able to travel, not being able to have like experiences of just going to the movies. My therapy was just going to the drive-in.
Yeah.
So was this something you made during the pandemic?
It was. And yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think the thing for me was when we first found out that it happened, and then we were supposed to be doing certain things, and then immediately seeing how it was getting spun into so many different things. And I was like, wait, this is a chance for us all to be on the same page. Something big just happened, and we all need to hunker down together and agree to be a community and a society. And everybody went, nope. And I was like, whoa, or some people did, in all different directions. And I think that's very much the discussion that I wanted to have in this, is one thing changes and everybody interprets it the way that they feel like and the way that they want. And that's incredibly confusing, because it is a chance for us all to come together. So yeah, I was in lockdown. I went back to the script, and then we ended up, I had 2 other productions. They fell apart, as a lot of productions were doing. And I looked at this one and I was like, wildly enough, this might be the one that we can pull off, because this is before vaccines, this is before protocol, before anything. 20 of us flew out to Kansas City together, and we drove back through the United States and filmed it as we went. We stayed completely isolated. We bought out motels that were along Route 66. And we just stayed in them. We took over the kitchens. We took over everything. There was no cleaners or anything like that. So we were completely isolated, but it was also at a time when, I don't know if you remember, January 2021, everybody was having to isolate again. People didn't want to isolate again. And so we actually got to be together. It was a really wonderful experience. And it was right after the insurrection. And so we just ran away. And that was, as much as I like to stay and fight, that was kind of a good time to just be like, maybe we'll go focus on something else.
How did you get Karen Gillan to be in the film? She plays the intrepid scientist that discovers this crossover realm. I don't know how to describe it. What I like about the film, you don't get too much into the technological aspects of the scientific discovery. And I like I think when a film over explains something, it sort of gets ridiculous. You just know that this technology exists. But what was it like to work with her?
Yeah, you can see, track, and record ghosts on the other side.
Yeah.
There is a lot more science behind it, but I actually had it in the film and nobody cared. Turns out when you add all this exposition that you think is important, nobody actually cares. Karen and I have been friends for a decade. I met her actually on Oculus when I was working with Mike Flanagan I was making Before I Wake next with him. And so we actually met, I'm an extra one day. If you look at Oculus, you'll see me in the bidding scene. And we actually met in the van on the way back. And I was like, this crazy ginger's a lot of fun. So we just became friends, and she had wanted to start directing. And so I produced for her for years. We did 2 short films, and then The Party's Just Beginning, and also just formed a real friendship.
Wow. We have a lot of questions for you in the chat.
Oh,
a lot of questions. So
where is the chat? Where is it? I'm not very good at this.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll read them to you because we have an audience that listens to us. So here you go. Phil Gaughan says, hi, Molly. I'm a big fan of your dad's work. I'm sure that comes up all the time.
Me too. He's great. It's really good.
Yes.
Really talented, that guy, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And look, people are even saying, someone said, "What's your is your favorite band Oingo Boingo?"
No, but I really respect them. No, and also I just gotta give, like, not that he needs it, but a shout out to my dad. I just went to the Hollywood Bowl show, and what I loved about that show is I don't think anybody was asking my dad to come up with a punk ska album like The Big Mess. I don't think anybody was like, this is what we want Danny Elfman to do. That was what, during the pandemic, came out of his heart. And he's an artist and he follows that. And he's always doing something different. And I really was inspired by that show.
I had a lot of friends go to that show. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but just your dad's work is just amazing, from the band, which I listened to back in the 80s, to the soundtrack for Batman, among others. It's amazing how iconic his scores are, including even for films like Darkman. I thought was fantastic.
Black Beauty is probably one of my favorite scores of his. That and Edward Scissorhands still. I mean,
God. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah, right?
I can ask, what was casting like for Next Exit?
I was incredibly lucky and I got all my first choices. Katie Parker I've known for 10 years. I actually saw her in a reading. I went to a film festival a long time ago. My first film ever was Do Not Disturb, and it's not very good, so don't try to find it, which now I know you will. But I was enough that I did the film festival circuit, and Mike Flanagan said, hey, I like that film. We should work together. And I saw Absentia, and I was like, hey, I like your film. We should work together. And I met Katie Parker. And then I've known her for a decade. We became friends as well. And I saw her grow as an actress. And we did a short film there, which Rose McIver directed. Again, this is also a small world, the casting on this. And I was like, wow, she's really grown and developed. And I was very excited to work with her on this. Rose McIver, another friend and champion, and one of the reasons why I finally sat down and finished this script, and just so grateful for her. And once I knew Katie was going to play Rose, and she agreed to, Katie and Rose McIver used to actually be roommates back in the day in LA, and they're kind of like sisters. And I was like, ooh, natural chemistry. And so Rose McIver very kindly agreed to play that role. And then, yeah, most of it was me reaching out to my friends, to be completely honest. Reached out to Karen. I wanted Rahul in this movie so bad. I watched iZombie back in the day, and he was so charming and so cute. And I was like, and then I saw Bly Manor, and I was like, ooh, he's got the depth too. So I reached out to Rose McIver. I reached out to Mike Flanagan and his reps. And I did a multi-prong attack, because we also only had 3 weeks to cast it. And thank God he said yes. I don't know. It was just like, it worked. And then Diva Zappa, who's been in every single one of my projects since I've begun. So it was really fun to bring her back as Karma in this one. And then I just got lucky, really.
Brock Samsonite has a question. Does this story pull from John Sartre's No Exit, or is it something different?
It doesn't at all. It's really funny. There was a review that went up that said, obviously, Elfman is referring to No Exit in the title. And nope, not at all. It's a pun, because whenever you're on the road, you see those signs, and it's always the next exit. And it's also the question of, hey, maybe we shouldn't get off so soon. Maybe we should try to keep going. And that's all. But yeah, everybody's assuming it. That was not one of my references. But I understand why people might draw the connection, but very different tone. I think very different goals, too, of wanting to talk about the other side.
Right. And question for Molly from Shelby AC. Did your parents give you good advice in navigating Hollywood and the entertainment industry?
Stay out of it. Leave.
Really?
Go away.
That was your advice? Really?
My dad doesn't give me... My relationship with my father is very much a father-daughter. Of course, we complain about our work. We complain about days on long days and all the rest of it. But I think kind of similarly, I was, raised as a kid, I was up in the mountains in Topanga. I was playing with tadpoles in the state park. I was so not Hollywood or anything like that. And actually my first job in Hollywood, other than being a stunt pony rider in Black Beauty, first movie credit, but I was a professional horseback rider, and actually one of my students was Missy Stabile, and she was one of the headline producers at Universal, and she actually gave me my first gig. And then my parents were like, don't do it. And I did it anyway. But now they're proud.
Some more questions coming in. Fletcher Williams, what software did you use to color correct and camera used?
We used the Ari Alexa Mini, the Mini, because we were literally in the tightest of places and we were in that car so much. And so we needed something small and nimble. And I also really wanted this to feel like a genuine road trip and more like a documentary, which is why I worked with Azuli, who this was her first feature. And maybe, I don't know that she really wants to make feature films. She's a documentary filmmaker. She's really not that into narrative. And so that's actually what I loved about her and what interested me. And then we worked with Freddie over at Picture Shop for color correction. And he is amazing. I've worked with him many, many times.
Another question here from Solomon Thornton. What was your inspiration behind the film? And I know you get this a lot, but your dad's cool.
He is cool. I agree. It is very funny when I was at Coachella and like you have to see your dad like tear off his shirt and everybody like go crazy. It is a little bit of like that's a moment in time. Got some cool tattoos there though. Inspiration behind the film was I believe in ghosts. I've had a lot of ghost experiences. We don't have time to talk about all those on the show, but I just wanted to create a world in which they existed and we could see how people would react. So that's the initial conceit. And I think next I very much want to make a ghost film in which we explore that from another perspective. But for me, this was always a character-driven road trip story about these two characters and how they would overcome the issues that were in their way.
Another question here. Lubitsch Touch Me asks, how much of your original vision for Next Exit, if any, did you have to compromise?
I'm not going to call it compromise. Change, yes. I mean, there was a whole other plan of how to shoot this, and so much of our budget went to COVID protocol, which really sucked. When you're making a under $1 million film and then a sixth of it goes to COVID testing, it just hurts your soul. And it's just like, there goes your days, there goes your time in post. Honestly, I'm actually grateful for it though, because we were on the road. We had a camera team of 2. We had a G&E team of 2. We had one person doing hair, makeup, and wardrobe. It makes you have to lean into what your story is, lean into your intentions, and just really trust that and not second guess yourself. You don't have time. You don't have the ability. Stay in the moment. And I think for me, who likes to be very on top of things and so prepared and over plan it, it made me realize, no, I can do this. I can be free. I can follow through with stuff. And I'm very excited to now be able to take that into bigger productions.
And this alcoholic semen thrower says, stunt pony rider? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I rode all 3 different Mary Legs ponies. I helped train them to get them ready. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. And I taught them how to rear up, and then I would fall off the back.
And a lot of people ask this question in the chat, but do you have another project that you're lining up now? A new next project?
I do. I have one that I'm writing that is a ghost story from my childhood, but that'll take me a minute to write, and I'm really hoping to make another one right before that. And what I had always intended on making a horror film first. That's kind of my whole thing, is I love horror and I love genre. This is the one that went, and so I leaned into it, but I'm really excited to actually get to play with some real special effects and some blood gags and actually have some fun in that arena as well.
And everyone wants to know, Spaceman asks, hi Molly, is the movie on video on demand?
It is. It's in select theaters, and it is now available everywhere on demand. So Apple, iTunes, Amazon, however you get your stuff.
And then Cavatino, Cavalryman Shea says, multitask and watch trailers. Next Exit looks like an interesting roller coaster ride. Seen roads shown in this movie similar to my drive from Colorado to Washington State.
We did not take that road. We actually went Kansas City down through Oklahoma, hit just a little bit of Texas, stayed in Tucumcari for 8 days, got Moriarty, Albuquerque, then drove through Arizona, and then ended up in LA. Did a quick flyover 3 months later to New York to pick up some exteriors, and then that was it. So didn't take that path. That path is actually far more beautiful, but we were driving in January and it was completely covered in snow.
Wow. Well, Molly, first of all, congratulations on the movie. This is your directorial debut. Is that correct?
That's true. Yeah.
Congratulations. Awesome. And, it's been years since I've seen you, but so happy when I saw that this film we got the press release and like just seeing like, you made a movie. This is great. I immediately popped to the top of my in basket. So in basket, whatever.
In basket. Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense.
But congratulations again. And I can't wait to see what you do next. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. It means so much for you to make the time, and it was so exciting to be on here. And I think that film that you were showing right before about the worms, I thought it was a tequila horror film.
Was it?
I don't know what it's about, but now I actually really want to check it out.
Cool. Well, Molly, thank you. Congratulations, and hope you'll come back when your next film is done.
Would love to. Thank you so much for everything.
Awesome. All right. Take care. Later. Bye. How great. She was awesome.
I feel bad. I got a phone call about my pool during all that. So
you got a phone call about your pool?
Yeah, my pump is dead, and so I got to replace the pump. And then California is making it difficult for pool owners. And
why? What's the issue with pool owners?
Well, you can't just get a pump anymore. You have to buy a variable speed, and it doesn't necessarily fit in the back there. And but the California government is dictating what kind of equipment you can now have on your pools. That's what we send politicians to Sacramento.
Yeah, it's the limitations, and our light bulbs are all different in California.
Yeah,
it's just great. Red Terror 1978 says boomer words, Chris. Yeah, in basket. I used to have a basket, and this was the in box, and then there was the out box. Yeah, I used to have that. Oh my! So
everything you Xerox would then go into the in basket.
Yeah, and then fax. We got some more comments here before Patrick Reed Johnson joins us, but I want to. This is a practical joke. You're free to use this and do what you would like. But what I would do is, this is a joke I would play on my friends, is I would write an email. Okay. And I would write an email in the email, like my Gmail or whatever. I would write an email. Then I would print out the email. I would get an envelope, right? I would just get an envelope. I would put a stamp on it, my return address to my friend. I would take the printed email out. I would mail it to my friend. Then like a week later, I'd call a friend of mine and I'd say, did you get my email? Which was a printout of an email that I wrote. So there you go. Lubitsch Touch Me says, California over-regulating something unheard of.
Yeah.
Patrick Lemire, I bet Gavin Newsom has 8 pools. Probably. Let's get through some super chats here that are not related to our guests. That's why I didn't do the super chats. I'm saving them. Cardinal Sin for $1.99 says, hail Chris and Alan. Hail fellow film threaders. Wait, should we say, is it film threaders? What are fans of Film Threat? Film Threat people? FT peeps? What is a good name for Film Threat fans? Film threaders. It sounds like you're knitting something. You're threading a needle. I don't know.
No, I think that's film threateners.
Threateners. We'll see. TPAC 28 for 20. Lampooning president on SNL was always funny because it came from a place of love. The Trump impersonations were always mean-spirited and hateful. I stopped watching years ago. That's right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's with Alec Baldwin's portrayal. It was, he's racist, he's a misogynist, and that's the joke. And that's all he did. He was stupid.
It's not funny.
Yeah, but he never really looked at Trump and like Daryl Hammond did and tried to get his characterization. Get an idea that this guy he is portraying is Trump. In other words, he's just playing a guy who's a racist and misogynist, and it's just not funny, and it's generic. It's generic and lazy.
Yeah, and thank you, TPAC 28. We appreciate that. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I used to love SNL. It was literally, I wouldn't always watch it like live, obviously. I would record it, but my Sunday morning was just scanning through. First, what I would do is I always scan through the commercials, obviously. Then it's like I scan through the musical guests because I don't like any of the new music or the guests that they get for musical guests. And I could basically watch, and there'd always be like, what I always liked was the sketches they would put at the end of the show, which were always like, let's just put on something crazy. We don't know if it's going to be funny. And I always loved the sketches that would come at the end of the show. People would say, well, they're not funny at the end. It's like, no, those are the better ones because they take a risk. So the end of the show, like just before the end, they would throw a sketch like, we don't know. People are probably not watching the show anyways. And then I would always watch Weekend Update, but it got to the point where I could watch basically SNL in like 30 minutes if I fast forwarded through all the things I didn't like. And then finally I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. It was after that Woke Jeans commercial, which I thought was one of the funniest things SNL did has done recently for sure. I just haven't watched it. Luther Talbot for 5. From 1988 to 1993, the kids in my school would have sleepovers to watch SNL, and it's all we would talk about. And then in 1994, it faded for us. Yeah, it definitely goes through periods when you've got like like a changeover in cast. What do you think about that, Alan?
Yeah, I was with SNL from the very beginning. I would try to stay up late. I was only an elementary school student at the time, but I just remember the fact that no one was safe. They would lampoon everyone. The things they did, not only to Nixon and Ford, they did it to Jimmy Carter as well. And it just showed that this is what I loved about the old comedy was it was a fu to power, and now the way they barely portray Biden, and when they do, they don't portray him in a way that the world sees him, and I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, I just got an email that Patrick Reed Johnson is late. He's stuck in traffic, and I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to reschedule the interview.
All right.
We're going to reschedule the interview.
Yeah, I think it comes to streaming in a few weeks, so maybe
it comes to streaming in a few weeks. So we're going to reschedule the interview with Patrick Reed Johnson, and we're just going to wrap it up here for today. I want to say thank you to Glanuccio, kicking ass, producing. The thumbnails are on point. The videos are on point. And there you go. I also want to thank everyone, especially the people who gave us super chats and members. We appreciate our members. We appreciate your support of the channel. We appreciate it so much. We are going to get to Patrick Reed Johnson. We'll talk 525-77 sometime next week or the following week. I promise you we will make that happen. And there you go. And please subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 100,000 subs. On our way to 100,000 subs. It's happening.
Yeah, where are we at? We're at
every 5,000 subs, we will introduce a new special video, probably focused on Alan. Will it be something like, I don't know, what could it be?
My nipples look like milk duds.
Who knows? But every time we get 5,000 subs, new subs, we will add a new video to our roster. And it may or may not be about Alan.
But most likely will.
All right, that wraps it up for us today. Want to say, Alan, thank you for having a great sense of humor and your improv skills. Thinking fast on your feet during a live stream. Maybe
a little bit faster. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit faster. A little bit faster. But there you go. I want to thank everybody in the chat who participated. We love spending time with you here. So Patrick Lemire, a final thought here. I beg to differ. The original SNL were open. They wanted to get rid of Gerald Ford and would ridicule him at any opportunity. Chevy feels like he shifted election. Nothing new under the sun. So there you go. But just want to say Alan's Corner. People saying they loved Alan's Corner. Look, it took you a little bit to get going, but once you got it,
because you had to have a topic. It's kind of nice to have the topic ahead of time and have thought about it.
Well, but this is
throwing it off of the top of your head.
This is a very important topic. I know it means a lot to you because you come from comedy.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Yeah. But let's wrap it up. Alan, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Visit filmthreat.com.
What were you saying?
Oh, hey. I think we have a guest.
Okay, let's see.
All right.
I don't know. Patrick, are we here?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
But why can't you see me? This is interesting. Hang on.
We were actually going to reschedule your interview because I know you were late and we do the show live. We're having some technical issues.
Do you want to reschedule?
Yeah, would you mind if we rescheduled? I'll talk to your publicist. We'll get
no problem. Absolutely. And thank you so much for the great review. That was just fantastic.
Oh, that's great. And we just want to be able to really spend time.
Yeah, no worries. I'm available all weekend or next week. This whole week has been delivering foreign release elements, so I'm just up to my ears in technical gobbledygook.
Tell me about it. We'll have a whole discussion on delivering deliverables for video on demand. But Patrick, you're a real live person. You'll be back next week, and we're wrapping up the show. Thank you so much.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Talk to you guys next week.
Okay. Later. Bye. Super nice guy. I know. I just want to. I don't want to rush through this interview.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush through this interview. I want to spend time. So there you go. All right. Thank you, everybody. I know. Boo. You're saying boo to me. Look, I got stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
My life is very scheduled. It's very scheduled where I can do this and this and this. And there you go. But that's a preview of our Patrick Reed Johnson interview. All right, Alan, take us out. What would you like to say at the very end of the show?
Hey, go see Weird. It's on Roku TV. That's my recommendation for the weekend.
And, all right, well, let's do that. Hang on. We're gonna Alan. No, what do you like to say at the end of the show?
Let's get out of here.